You and I have talked before when you've been before this committee, and you and I have talked in person a number of times about Mifepristone. I just want to follow up with you because since the last time you were before the committee and the last time you and I spoke, there's been a major study by the Ethics and Public Policy Center of 865,727 prescribed cases of Mifepristone abortions, chemical abortions, between 2017 and 2023. Have you seen this study? Are you familiar with this? Do you know?
Yes, I am.
You will remember then that this data shows the biggest study on Mifepristone done, I think, ever, and it showed that nearly 11% of women experience very serious adverse health effects, to include sepsis, hemorrhaging, infection, of course, emergency room visits. Now, by the way, that's 22 times higher. That rate is 22 times higher than the FDA's current label, which says it's just 0.5. The incidence of serious adverse health events. So my question to you is this: you previously testified to the committee that you would do a top to bottom review of Mifepristone. Mifepristone is subject to a REMS currently. You have said you'll do a top to bottom review. Do you continue to stand by that, and don't you think that this new data shows that the need to do a review is in fact very pressing?
I think the new data, first of all, it validates the CAS study, which is previously probably the most comprehensive data that we've seen on it, and it is, and it's alarming, and clearly it indicates that at very least the label should be changed. I've asked Marty McCary, who's the director of FDA, to do a complete review and to report back.
Good. Do you have any sense of timeline, Mr.
I
Secretary,
do not.
That? It will be a top priority, though, for you. Is that
Yes.
safe to say? You say that it probably indicates the label needs to be changed. Do you think it's also important as part of your review to consider whether it's necessary now to put back in place the long-standing safety protocols that always accompanied Mifepristone until the last administration? In-person dispensing, doctor visits, screening for ectopic pregnancies?
I know that Marty McCary will make a recommendation. I feel that the policy changes will ultimately go through the White House, through President Trump.
But you'll make a recommendation based on the data?
Yes.
Good. On a different subject, talking about the advertising that is routinely done by pharmaceutical companies, you have been a longtime critic of direct-to-consumer pharmaceutical advertising. You wrote, I think, in the Wall Street Journal a little over a year ago about the need to revisit guidelines around pharmaceutical advertising. Is that still your view? I mean, has your view changed?
Pharmaceutical advertising is particularly insidious because, commercial advertising has some level of First Amendment protection, not as great as political speech. It doesn't have the kind of strict scrutiny applied to political speech. It still has a level of protection. But pharmaceutical advertising is unique because if a company is advertising, for example, Coca-Cola, the consumer has a choice to whether to buy it, and then he's spending his own money on it, so he's got skin in the game. With pharmaceutical advertising, the consumer's purchasing the product, and it's usually the most expensive form of the product, so that they're usually advertising because they want to bury the existence and the availability of generic drugs that are much cheaper and equally effective. And the consumer is spending not his own money, and most often our money, taxpayer money. Furthermore, the pharmaceutical ad is getting tax deductions, so we are funding it.
I want to ask you just about that. Under current law, pharma companies can deduct their advertising costs as a business expense. Do you think it's time to change that?
Yeah, and I've actually have a call into Scott Besant about that, but I'm working very hard on this issue, and we expect to come out with a policy within the next few weeks.
Well, let me propose that we work together. Today, I'm introducing legislation to repeal the tax deductibility of these advertisements. It is a bipartisan bill with Senator Shaheen on the other side of the aisle here. It is a bicameral bill with both the Democrat and Republican sponsors in the House of Representatives. And my view is it's time to get rid of these tax breaks for these companies and to end this practice. Can you support that?
100% support it.
Fantastic. I look forward to working with you on that.